What is up, everybody? Thanks for watching Primetime Carolina. With me today, I have Christian from the Port City Riot. Christian, how are you today, sir?
Doing good, Dave. How are you?
I'm doing well, man. It's been a big offseason for our Panthers.
It has most exciting off season. One of the best we've had, I feel like.
Yeah, I mean, I can't think of one that's topped this, so I'm excited to get into it. Before we do that, you wanted to fill us in on an event at in Wilmington for the Port City Riot. So if you want to go ahead and expand on that, I will give you the mic.
All right, appreciate it, Dave. Port City Riot is going to have a draft party at Jack's Fifth Avenue and Deli over on New Center Drive. It's that silver building right across from the GMC dealer. It's the draft actually starts at 8, but we'll be there around 7. We're going to have all our tailgate stuff out front, and we're going to draw for a bucket of beers for any new members that join up that day. We're going to celebrate the fact that we got a first pick in the draft, and we got a chance of getting a really good quarterback and taking our team to the next level from here.
Perfect. Awesome. So if you are in southeastern North Carolina or hell, northeastern South Carolina, and you feel like making a little bit of a drive, find your way to Jack's on draft night. It's going to be an awesome draft party with the Port City Riot and a bunch of awesome Panthers fans. So hope we see a lot of you there.
Bring
All right, Chris. Let's get into it, man. We just touched on it a little bit. It's been an absolutely thrilling. I mean, there's not a lot of adjectives that can really do it justice as far as what this offseason has been for the Panthers. The only way I can describe it is Scott Fitterer playing Madden in real life, because this dude has just been going balls to the wall, doing whatever it takes to put this team in position to compete for what's been a lowly NFC South for a couple of years now. Obviously, the Bucks are set to fall off. Tom Brady's gone. The Saints, we'll see. I mean, the Panthers swept them last year, I believe.
Yeah.
They swept them last year. And, they bring in Derek Carr. Then you got the Falcons. Nobody really knows what's going on with them. I feel like they might be slept on a little bit. They've added some pieces on defense. We'll see, though. I mean, nobody knows what to expect from Desmond Ridder. They could be terrible, or they could be, a fringe wild card team. So we'll see what happens there. But at the end of the day, the division is wide open.
It is.
So the Panthers go out, make the big move. They get, Frank Reich. He assembles an all-star coaching staff. And then we touched on, Scott Fitterer bringing in some big-time free agents. So let's look, we got the list pulled up. I'm not sure this is every move. This is from My Sports Updates. So they get Frank Reich, trade for the number 1 pick, sign Miles Sanders, DJ Chark, Adam Thielen, Hayden Hurst, Von Bell, Andy Dalton, Bradley Bozeman, Shai Tuttle. Now, I believe out of that list, your favorite move is going to be Bradley Bozeman. And yes, I absolutely agree with you on that. Huge, huge, huge for the Panthers to bring him back over this offseason. It would have been a huge loss. He orchestrated an offensive line that was the best we've seen in years last season, especially in the run game. So I'll give you the floor. You want to expand on Bradley Bozeman?
Yeah. Like I was saying, that was the number one thing as far as I'm concerned. The start of free agency is locking him down. I really wish we could have kept Foreman as well, but things worked out for us. But Bozeman was definitely the most important in the fact that no matter who we get at quarterback, if we don't have an offensive line, he's going to be ineffective. And with Icky on one side and Bose there, that he's that little bit of a veteran presence. And I don't know if you've seen him on like Twitter and things like that, but he is just absolutely thrilled. He and his whole family are just thrilled to be staying in Charlotte and playing for this team. And he's that guy that's going to be that anchor, that's going to be that guy that gets in that huddle and fires those other guys up and says, hey, we need 3 yards. Let's get 9. What do you say? I feel like the offensive line is not going to be an issue as long as we can avoid any injuries. We're going to have a good offensive line this year, and the run game is going to work. I'm excited about Sanders coming in. So, I mean, that, like I said, I feel like the Bose signing was the number one most important thing to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Bozeman was probably, if not the biggest, one of the 2 or 3 biggest pieces on that whole offense last year, really.
Yep.
Once he took over that role, the running game really took a step forward. Now, you touched on it a little bit there. Dante Foreman obviously is with the Chicago Bears now. The Panthers bring in Miles Sanders, and I'll admit, Miles Sanders has never really been my cup of tea. I don't dislike him. I would have preferred them to get a guy who's more of a power back like they had last year with Deontay Foreman. Um, but with that being said, I don't think it's a bad move at all for a couple reasons. The biggest reason being he's a good receiving back, and that's going to be a huge, huge crutch for a rookie quarterback. Um, who's anytime he's under pressure, he's able to check it down to a guy who can make something happen in space. Similar to what we saw with Christian McCaffrey for years here. Obviously, he's not Christian McCaffrey, but he does have a lot of that pass catching ability. And then another thing I like about him is what he's going to bring to the rushing attack as far as big playability, hitting the big home runs. You think back to the Detroit game last year, and the Panthers ran for what, 350 yards, something crazy. It was a franchise record. I don't remember the number off the top of my head, but in that game, they probably could have run for 500 yards if Deontay Foreman had more big playability. There was a lot of times he got in open space. He needed to make one guy miss, and he got tripped up. Now, that doesn't mean he's a bad back, but you bring in a guy like Miles Sanders, he's going to break off those big runs at a higher rate than a guy like Deontay Foreman. So there are a couple reasons I do really like the move. I think Miles Sanders is a solid running back. Obviously, he's a Pro Bowl running back. You don't get to the Pro Bowl because you suck. What are your thoughts on Miles Sanders?
I like Sanders. The pickup, like you said, is that speed and that ability to move in space in the open field. My one thing with him last year, he had a pretty good season, but he kind of disappeared in the playoff. He had a big drop. I think it was the NFC. I don't remember what game it was. But he had a big drop on a pass that would have made a difference in the game. It would have been a Super Bowl, and that was like I said, he kind of fell off during the playoffs, but the team was still winning. So, but as far as his abilities, I'm very happy with what he brings to us. That McCaffrey-like ability to run and bust the long ones. So I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that was one of my things also as far as like who he signed at running back. And the contract is not bad, don't get me wrong. But I feel like if you look at free agency, he was probably one of the more shiny options in this free agency class. So that was kind of why I shied away from him. The contract's not bad. Again, I thought it would be worse to land Miles Sanders. But I felt like how much was he a product of what is an insanely good Philadelphia offensive line? And I don't think that's going to be a huge issue because I think, like we just touched on here a second ago, we have a fine offensive line. As it is, I would say it's probably top 10 in the NFL, maybe even top 5. I truly believe in our offensive line. I think there are a lot of solid players. I do think it's worth mentioning that Brady Christensen and Austin Corbett got injured in week 18 last season. So, how they bounce back from those injuries is certainly going to be a factor in how our offensive line looks next season. But assuming everyone is able to play to their full ability, I like our 5 guys, and I would put them up against just about any other unit in the league.
Absolutely.
Chris, let's move on to some of these other guys. I guess we'll start at wide receiver since those are the biggest names as far as free agency goes. So the Panthers bring in 31-year-old Adam Thielen. I believe he's a 3-time Pro Bowler. Sign him to a 3-year deal. I believe they can get out of it after 2 years. I don't know all the details, but obviously he's not the guy he once was. But I think at the end of the day, you're still adding a savvy player who knows how to get open, who understands coverages, understands zones, will find empty spaces to give a rookie quarterback a target. And I think you look at, specifically Adam Thielen at wide receiver, Hayden Hurst at tight end, and again, we just talked about Miles Sanders. Those are all guys who are going to give a young quarterback a target. Those are guys who understand how to get open. Those are guys who know how to move the chains. And when you have a young guy who's just trying to, get his feet wet and figure out how life in the NFL works. You need savvy players like this who can, help him find success. And like I said, move the chains down the field. So obviously Adam Thielen is a borderline, former superstar
Yeah.
At his peak. Obviously he's not that guy anymore, but I think he's still an exciting addition for the Panthers. What are your thoughts on that?
I think he's our new Ricky Prohl. I mean,
Yeah.
he's that guy that if you have to throw the ball to him, you're gonna move the chains. You're gonna get some yardage out of it. He's sure-handed. He's smart. He runs routes well. Yeah, he's not the Adam Thielen of 2 years ago, but who is the same person they were 2 years ago, right? So, like I said, it's that extra target for that young quarterback. That guy, he's got that in the back of his head. I know Adam's going to catch this if I throw it to him. Guy's got great hands. Speed isn't the greatest in the world, but he's that reliable, third down that you can rely on being there. And I'm just excited about Hurst for that. He's a great tight end. Almost, it's hard to compare anybody to Greg Olsen, but he brings that to mind,
Yeah, I'm sorry. You froze up there for a second. I don't know if it was me or you, but I'm going to try to build off what you were saying. Adam Thielen, he doesn't have the greatest speed in the world, but excuse me. He doesn't have the greatest speed in the world, but he knows how to get open, which is a huge thing for a young quarterback. And again, Hayden Hurst, like you said, not Greg Olsen, but does have some of that same ability as far as finding open space. And if I'm a quarterbacks coach and I have those two guys and a rookie quarterback, the first thing I'm going to say is look for these two guys, Adam Thielen and Hayden Hurst.
They're going to have lunch together every day,
especially on third and short. So those guys, super exciting additions. I think maybe the most exciting, maybe the biggest upside here is going to be DJ Chark. This dude, we just talked about speed with Adam Thielen. This guy has the speed that Adam Thielen doesn't have. This guy is going to take the top off the defense. And Panthers fans should remember him because the last two times he's faced the Panthers, he's absolutely torched us. So I'll let you go on DJ Chark. Again, I'm excited, big play threat. And I think as far as who he is as a wide receiver, I think he can still develop into a more complete player. And I think the Panthers are going to give him the opportunity to do that. And it sounds like that's Frank Reich's intentions based on what we've heard from him in the past week since the Panthers have signed DJ Chark.
I think that's the biggest thing is that over-the-top speed to get down the field and get open and make huge plays. He's got that ability to catch. He's got that great speed. He's a good route runner. People are talking about that ankle injury. He just had surgery, I believe, earlier this week. But they say he'll be ready to go by OTAs. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what kind of things he can do in our offensive scheme with a strong arm quarterback like a Stroud or a Young or something like that. That just looking forward to that speed and that catching ability. I'm so excited. Every time my phone buzzed last week, I almost jumped out of my chair. It's time. We finally found him. I was waiting on a friend of mine at a place in Wilmington to have lunch, and I jumped up out of my chair. People thought I was insane. And then when I DJ Chark, 3 people knew what I was talking about. So.
Hey, that's good. 3 people gave you some credibility for acting crazy in the moment. Yeah, man. I'd be lying if I said like I'm not worried at all about the Panthers wide receiver group after losing DJ Moore. But I think as far as what they've added, they've done about the best they could have given the situation. And right. I think, even in the past couple seasons, even with DJ Moore, the Panthers have really lacked that downfield threat. DJ Moore is a very good player. He's an incredible run after catch wide receiver. But as far as his downfield speed, it's good. It's not great. There's not too many defenses scared he's going to beat him over the top. He's more of a catch and run kind of guy.
Right.
So I think a guy like DJ Chark brings an extra element that the Panthers haven't really had over the past couple seasons. And it's a very important element to any successful offense. You look back to 2015 when the Panthers were first or second in the league and on offense that year. Cam Newton was an absolute machine. They had this guy. They had Ted Ginn who could get over the top. Now he'd only catch the ball about half the damn time if it hit him in the hands, but they had a guy who could get over the top, and it makes a huge difference. even, whether it's attacking and making big plays or just opening up stuff underneath for a guy like Hayden Hurst or Adam Thielen, who we just said, have the ability to get open underneath.
And I think it's gonna make Terrace Marshall has to step up.
Absolutely.
They're gonna key in defense. Is gonna key on Chark. I feel like, and that's gonna leave Terrace in some single coverage that he has to like. Okay, you got to come up big here because this is where we need to go, and hopefully he'll come through there.
Yeah, I think Terrace has shown signs of significant growth since we drafted him for sure. It's time to take the next step and become like a go-to guy. And I think he has it in him. It felt like the last coaching regime really held him back for whatever reason. I don't know how you could justify putting Chosen Anderson on the field ahead of Terrace Marshall for, a season and a half or whatever that Terrace Marshall seemed to be ready to take
Right.
on that role. As soon as Matt Rule was gone, one of the first things Steve Wilkes did was replace Robbie Anderson in that lineup. So, it seems like he was playing a little bit of his favorites there.
Very likely, yeah.
And obviously, we all know what happened next. Robbie was not happy, threw a fit on the sideline, and was traded the next day.
Right.
And then, Terrace Marshall had a pretty solid end to the, second half of the season. Obviously, the offense was very much built around the run. And when they did throw, their first option was DJ Moore. So he didn't get a ton of looks, but he did make some plays when he got the opportunity last year. So that's a good sign. We know for the last 2 years, he's dominated training camp. So we know, what kind of player he can be. It's just translating that to Sundays.
Exactly. That's Terrace, he's got that size and those big hands. I mean, he's a Musa Muhammad type of guy and I love receivers like that. So I really think this is a year he could come up big for us.
Yeah, those are interesting comparisons that Panthers fans make. You look, because we just talked about how Adam Thielen's almost like Ricky Prohl. Terrace Marshall's almost like Musa Muhammad. And then there are some guys in this draft who are pretty Steve Smith-like. They're small, shifty dudes. Zay Flowers comes to mind. Maybe Josh Downs out of UNC.
I would love to have Josh Downs on this team. That boy can catch.
Yeah, I'm a fan. We'll see. I think before free agency started, or before we made all these moves in free agency, I was like certain at number 39 we were going to grab a wide receiver. Now I'm not so sure, just because we have other needs on defense, especially, that I feel like people are overlooking a bit. But we'll see what happens. We might just go best player available. We might target some defensive players. We might still go wide receiver. I think there's a good chance even in the third round there's some receivers who can come in and contribute. So, I'm sure they have a plan. They've done well so far this offseason. I'm sure they're, knock on wood, not going to screw it up now. As far as the rest of the guys go, I'm big on Von Bell. I think he's a very good safety.
Von Bell, huge.
Yeah, huge. And the biggest reason I think for Panthers fans is we all know how good Jeremy Chin is in the box, and we all want to see him move down towards the line of scrimmage. He's not great in coverage, but he's a phenomenal playmaker when he's near the line of scrimmage.
And here's a little stat that a lot of people may not even know about Bell. Since 2016, he has 11 fumble recoveries. That leads the league at the position in fumble recoveries.
That's awesome. You said since when? 2016. 16. Awesome. And I think I looked at the last 2 seasons, or maybe it was just last year. Last season or 2, he's got 4 interceptions. So the dude is producing turnovers every which way possible. So that's great. And he's a former Saint, so it always feels good to take away from a division rival and add it to your squad. Obviously, he was a huge contributor for the Bengals over the last few seasons.
I feel like the look at the defense, moving to that 3-4. I really feel like with Dom Capers and his Lego hair, we're going to do a lot of zone blitzing. That's going to take some big safeties and some corners that can hit and not just cover. And I love to watch a corner blitz. I got to tell you, it's one of my favorite plays in football. and we can get guys that can get in there and ball hawk like that and get those turnovers and get the defense off the field, it's going to be a good year, Dave. It's going to be a good year.
I'm excited. I'm very excited. Let me ask you this, since you just brought it up a little bit. What are your thoughts on Dante Jackson on the outside?
Dante is a big player, no play kind of guy.
Yeah.
I love him. He's Mason's favorite player on the defense. And I like having him on the team, but there's days where you go, man, Dante's the man. And you go, Dante, what are you doing the very next time? So
yeah, that position in particular is one that comes to mind when I think about positions I would probably target in the draft. Even if Dante Jackson plays all season and plays to the best of his ability, I really question the depth after him.
Yeah, very much so.
I think ideally you get another guy who goes on the outside who's got a bigger frame and is more dependable and is a better tackler. And then you move Dante inside to the slot. That's just what I would do. I think he's a lot more natural at that position than he is on the outside. And I think a lot of his biggest mistakes on the outside come from not wanting to step up and make a tackle. And that's, whatever. I'm not saying he sucks because he can't step up and make a tackle, but there's been a lot of 3rd and 8s where we were a Dante Jackson tackle away from getting off the field.
Yeah.
And his speed is his biggest attribute. I think that's much better used in the slot than on the outside. I think you need a more physical guy who can press more like a JC Horn type.
Exactly.
So we'll see.
And my dad and I were talking about this one day. I think maybe he overestimates his own abilities a little bit.
Yeah. Possibly. I don't know. For me, if my corner's on the outside, I like the big, tall, physical guys. And again, nothing against Dante Jackson. Obviously, he's a big play waiting to happen, but not the best tackler, which can be very, very frustrating on, like I said, 3rd and 8. All right, so let's move on. Just want to get your thoughts on that real quick. We pretty much covered everybody except for the defensive lineman, Shy Tuttle and Deshaun Williams.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly how they're going to do this in the 3-4. I believe Shy Tuttle is going to be the man in the middle,
right?
With Derek Brown and Deshaun Williams on the outside. It seems Deshaun Williams has some familiarity with Ejiro Evero. He played with him in Denver. Yep. I looked it up. Between Tuttle and Williams, you're looking at, I think it was 52 games started over the past 2 seasons. So a lot of experience there. A lot of experience in the 3-4 system. They're going to know how to do their job that they're brought in to do. So I'm actually really excited about this for Derek Brown because I feel like over the last few seasons, especially last year, whenever he really came on, teams dedicated so much effort into blocking him. He didn't really get to use some of his absurd athleticism that he has for such a big guy to go make plays. So I'm excited to see what he can do with the opportunity to maybe get after the quarterback a little bit more. What are your thoughts there?
Well, that's one of the bigger things about that 3-4 is those guys that, usually are playing with their hand on the ground aren't anymore.
Yep.
And that much more off the line speed for them to get back there and make a play.
Yeah, I think for Brian Burns, he was built for a 3-4. That dude could have 25 sacks this year.
Definitely.
So, and Frankie Levu as well. Incredible speed off the edge. We'll see how they use him.
Yeah,
I assume he'll be more on the inside, but still, it's gonna open up blitzes for him, which is what he does best. Sorry, go ahead.
What I was saying was that at that position, I don't think anybody can touch us as far as the athleticism and just raw strength. We got guys in there that, like you were saying, we get high into double-digit sacks for every one of them. Ability and talent. I'm so excited I can't even get my words out. I really feel like our defense is going to be minimum top 10 this year.
Yeah, I definitely understand the excitement for the defense, but I'd be lying if I said I wasn't a little concerned about maybe some of the run stuffing ability. We'll see. Because I'm not familiar enough with these guys to really know how well they're going to do in that situation.
Right.
And I also have a little PTSD from 2019 when we tried to make the switch, and
Yeah.
our run defense was, I mean, my eyes were bleeding every Sunday, and it was just painful. It was terrible. So I'll admit I'm a little, maybe a little less enthusiastic than some Panthers fans because I have that thought in the back of my mind. But as far as getting after the quarterback and the pass defense, yeah, I expect us to be pretty darn good there. Um, I'm also interested to see what's going to happen with Brandon Smith, who we traded up for in the draft last year. I believe he was in the 4th round.
Right.
Uh, Freak athlete, still trying to learn the game, I think. But we saw flashes of him in the preseason last year. I do think, I don't know if it'll be this season, but I do think in time he's going to be a starting quality player.
Right.
I don't know if he'll get on the field this year. I don't know if it'll be, Luvu and Thompson as the inside guys, or if it'll be possibly Brandon Smith and Thompson as the inside guys, Luvu as an outside guy. It's hard to tell because they still have to add guys, and free agency still got a long way to go, obviously, and then the draft. I don't imagine, and you might know this, Luvu being, opposite of Brian Burns on the outside all the time.
Uh, I feel like that it's a good pairing to have those two, but I like the Burns and Brown matchup better. Luvu has that ability to get up the middle and make run play stops and get in there and get back.
That's my thought too. I mean, he blitzes off the edge so well that you can like see him as an outside linebacker in a 3-4, but I don't think that would be a natural position for him at all. So I would imagine he'd be more as an inside guy, and they'll add somebody to be another edge rusher. All right, let's wrap this up a little here and talk about quarterbacks for a little bit. Andy Dalton added to the quarterback room. I mean, nobody in the world is like rushing the store to buy an Andy Dalton jersey, but it's a solid signing for the Panthers, obviously. He's been a Pro Bowl player in the league. I believe he's a 3-time Pro Bowler. Again, another guy Panthers fans have, seen throw for 300 yards or whatever at Bank of America Stadium. I distinctly remember that game in 2018 against the Bengals where he was just shredding us. Him and Tyler Boyd were shredding us all day. So, he's been a very, very solid quarterback in the NFL for a long time, and he's going to be able to, show the rookie quarterback we draft the ropes, along with, quarterback coach Josh McCown, who's very similar, been a pretty solid player in the league for around 15 years or so. What are your thoughts on what they built in this quarterback room for whoever we decide to draft on April 27th?
I think that number one is veteran presence. It's a guy who knows the position. And a lot of Panther fans are like, oh, he's garbage. He's garbage. They're looking at the fact that the Saints weren't any good last year. He led the league in 3 statistical categories. I don't remember right off the top. One of them was like completion percentage, though.
Mm-hmm.
The league in 3 categories, and nobody remembers that because they didn't win games.
Yeah, he was solid, and obviously, like we said, he's at the end of his career. He's not the best he's ever been right now, but he's a fine player.
But he's the veteran presence. He's the adult in the room because we got Corral's 25, 26.
Right.
And Young or Stroud or whoever gets could be 22, 23. So, we got nobody in the room with any real football experience other than Andy Dalton. So, I mean, I think it's a good move as far as that concerned. He's a great clipboard holder as far as I'm concerned. But if he has to play, he can go in and play. I'm not worried about the game's over. Here comes Dalton. I'm not worried about that.
Exactly. If you don't want him to play, but if he plays, you're not going to feel like the sky is falling. So, I mean, I don't know how people could complain about that. The only way people could complain about that move is if they're under the assumption he's going to be the starter over the rookie quarterback. I mean, there's literally nothing to complain about that.
Nope, not yet.
Yeah, so I mean, that's pretty much it, I guess. We pretty much touched on everything. You got any final thoughts you want to
Stroud or Young?
Sorry?
Stroud or Young?
Stroud or Young. Personally, I'm pretty high on CJ Stroud. I do love Bryce Young too. I get it. But I'd be lying if I said I didn't wonder about his size. And then if you go back and watch CJ Stroud, he gets a lot of flack for throwing to great players,
Uh-huh.
but the dude is throwing strikes all over the field. He can make every throw, every layer of the field, touch, arm strength. He can throw it across the field, pinpoint accuracy. I just feel like his game transitions very well to the NFL.
Exactly. Extending plays, getting out of the pocket, getting
Yeah.
away.
That's another question mark people had about him is his ability to extend plays. And I get it. Bryce Young definitely does it better than he does, but he can still do it when he needs to. And he showed that enough. He didn't show it every single week.
Of him specifically doing extending plays and scoring touchdowns on that too. And it was, I mean, I was impressed. I like what I saw. So
Yeah.
I'm happy either way, but I really am kind of sold on Stroud.
I think the today's quarterback has really skewed people's minds because now it's like, when did being able to win the game from the pocket become a bad thing? Like this dude is just out there dealing, and people are hating on him. So I'm a big fan of his. I think at the very least you're getting a solid NFL quarterback, and his ceiling is like top 5 good, like
Yeah, right.
in the Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, Trevor Lawrence conversation.
Yeah. And people are saying, like, look at pocket passers. Pocket passers are all the ones that have multiple rings. And I was like, well, yeah. However, the guys you're talking about, for the most part, there weren't those guys. Like when Bradshaw was running all his rings, when the Dallas Cowboys were running all their rings, they didn't have that guy. That guy didn't exist yet. This is a relatively new thing. And eventually, yes, those non-pocket passers are going to catch up and start making those rings as well. Mahomes, one of those guys.
Yeah, so. Exhibit A. Yeah, so by no means will I be upset if we draft Bryce Young, but I watched the two play, and I feel like a lot of the knocks on Stroud are people reaching for something to knock him on, and I just feel like his game translates well. So we'll see. I mean, whoever we get is gonna end up being my favorite player by default. Yeah. So I'm not gonna try to sit here and divide the fan base any more than I already have with my quarterback opinions. But whoever we draft, I hope he wins 10 Super Bowls.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, man. Hey, sorry, go ahead.
10 Super Bowls with us.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Hey, thanks for joining me today, Chris. Man, I hope we get it right. That's all I know. But yeah. Any closing remarks for you?
Don't forget, 27th of April, come out to Jack's.
Here on our new. Yes, sir. Absolutely. All right, man. You have a good one. Thanks for joining me. Keep pounding.